All right, you guys, let's get started. Welcome to Presidio's sales meeting. I'm sorry that we had a quick change on what we were doing today. The mandatory meeting was delayed because of the teacher's licensing. So our amazing Steve Perry decided to step in and teach us some incredible things about, is it marketing today, Steve?
Negotiations.
Negotiations, yeah. Super excited about that. Okay, so let's get into our wants and needs and our anything that you're grateful for the week. So please unmute yourself. Let us know if you have any wants. Let us know if you have any needs, and let us know if you're grateful for anything.
I'm looking for multi-units in Utah County or Salt Lake County. If there's anyone have or thinking they can arrange something, please contact me.
Like 4-plex, 6-plex,
Yes.
okay. Great. Anybody else have any wants or needs or anything they're grateful for this week?
I have a want potentially, or a need. Hey, Robin and I have this amazing commercial building up in Heber City. Cash flows like $280,000 a year. I mean, it's a phenomenal building, and with huge growth in Heber City. And it was under contract, and the buyer fell through because they thought that they had more in 1031 money that they didn't. So it's back on the market, and I'm looking for people that are interested in a really good growing community with a solid tenant base. So please let me know. I'll give you all the information, and we go from there. Now, I am very grateful at the same time for just amazing people that have stepped out on a limb, and I'm not going to say who they are, but there's just some amazing people in my life right now that have stepped out on a limb and really gone the extra mile to help some of my friends. And so those people that really care about others and not themselves, especially not only at this time of year, but all through the year. And I'm really trying to be that type of person as well. So those of you that, and I think they're probably on this line potentially, that have done those types of things, I really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. I might have a buyer for your commercial thing, so let's talk after this, okay? All right. Anybody else have anything they want to say they're grateful for this week, or any wants and needs?
Could I say one thing really quick?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar where the pizza factory is in Provo, but that whole building is for sale. It's $3.2 million. There's offices upstairs, everything's rented. I don't know how many commercial people are on here, but if you have anyone that might be interested in that, the tenants are willing to either, the restaurant is willing to relocate or lease back. So that's kind of an important thing to know. So just wanted to throw that out there.
That's great to know. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Okay, we are going to move on. Let's talk about our broker moment. This is regarding failure to disclose. So the agent admitted that he failed to disclose to the seller that the buyer had failed to provide additional earnest money prior to the due diligence deadline, and that he, Mr. Agent, had failed to execute a written agency agreement with the buyer prior to signing and submitting the Rep-C to the seller. These actions are in violation of Utah law and administrative rules. Mr. Agent agrees to pay a civil penalty of $2,000 to complete 3 hours of continuing education on the topic of Utah law. Now, you guys remember there's 2 sections of the real estate test that you took to get your license. One of them is Utah law. If there's 2 sections, don't you think one would be really important to know? Utah law. And so that's why these fines are so steep. So we want you to understand the law. If you have anything in question, you have 15 brokers that would be willing to help you answer questions so that you don't get fined. We want to save you $2,000. That's a good Christmas right there. All right, next week we have no classes because of Thanksgiving. So we are wishing you all a very happy Thanksgiving week, and we hope that you're safe and that you can spend some time with loved ones, but not too many of them, right? So hang in there, and hopefully you have a great Thanksgiving. All right, our weekly closers of last week, November 11th through 17th, were these people, and it looks like we have quite a few that did multiple deals. That's incredible. But way to go, everybody. Let's see your jazz hands for all the people that closed. Good job. We feel so lame doing it, but we're so glad to celebrate everybody on this list. Okay, also, the people that capped this week are Angie Veers and Robin Roberts. Isn't that exciting? If you don't know what capping is, let us know. So if you close about 13 transactions, you cap out and you get your transactions free. So that's what capping is all about, and we're proud of these people for capping out this week. All right, also just a quick reminder on the Max Gift Cancer Foundation. We have the video up online now on our website. So again, we are really trying to do something great this year. It's just that year that it's, you know, you want to give back to people and help you know, those good feelings go out. 2020 has just been all about blah and yuck. So we really want the good vibes, and we've picked this foundation for children's cancer. We have a huge company goal. We want to raise $75,000. So we want you to please be advocates of this. Please tell your clients. We have a video on our website that will show you, will kind of get you that into that mode of, I want to be a part of this. So please watch it and please donate. Last but not least, this is with great regret that I have to announce this, but we are postponing our annual Christmas Awards banquet. We usually do it every year about December 15th, but this year we will be fined $10,000 if more than 10 people gather. So we are extremely sad about this. This has been something that we've done every single year. We love to celebrate you. We love to get together for Christmas and have a nice dinner and awards banquet. And we are so, so sad, but the word is postponed, okay? We will hope that in 2021, January or February, we can have this event. So please be hopeful and positive, and just know that we're so proud of you. We will celebrate you either way, but we will not be having the banquet, okay? All right, I am going to turn the time over to, let's see, Lene Miller, I believe. I'm kind of forgetting her last name, sorry. I don't have it. But Lene, you have screen sharing rights now, I believe, if you are on.
Jan, this is Yvonne.
Yeah.
And I've tried everything I possibly can, send her the codes, everything, and she can't get on.
Oh dear.
So I don't know what to do other than, I don't know what to tell her.
Has she just hopped on PresidioRaisingTheBar.com?
Okay, can you hear her? Oh, wait a minute. Let me put you on speaker.
Oh, Yvonne, tell her to call me and we'll let somebody else talk right now on sales meeting.
Okay.
Amy, will you take over for White Knight?
Yeah, thank you. Amy from White Knight Insurance. Exciting news. We want to congratulate Minette Olson. She was the winner of our 50-inch smart TV. So if you see her, congratulate her. It was awesome. We are going to be doing more of these giveaways. So we want everybody to know they can participate. It's not just for Presidio, it's for family, friends, clients. All they have to do is do a quote request, and of course, we'll get that out to them. And so stay tuned. We appreciate your support. And yeah, we're gonna have some more fun coming this year. We're gonna go positive, right? Thanks.
Thank you so much, Amy. And then Mike, will you take a couple seconds?
Yes, I just wanted to talk about something real quick about the home warranty industry. All of the home warranty companies that you work with, including us, we do not cover pre-existing conditions. And the reason I bring that up, it sounds kind of negative, but it would be like buying car insurance after you get in a crash, right? And it's coming up a lot more where, because of all the competition to buy a home, people are buying homes as is. If you buy a home, for example, and the furnace is not working and then try to get it fixed with any home warranty company, it will not go through. So the reason I bring that up is it's good to set those expectations with your clients, regardless of who your home warranty company is. Let them know that pre-existing conditions, things that are not working when they buy the home are not going to be fixed. On the other hand, I do everything I can to take care of you guys. I had a hot water heater yesterday where the home inspector said it's 13 years old and needs to be replaced soon, but it was working, and they moved in, and 2 weeks later it's not working at that point. We fixed it. So if you have questions on that, just give me a call, but make sure you let your clients know and that those things are not going to be covered if they're buying homes as is, and it will actually make them happier in the long run because they had the right expectations. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Looks like Jen's on the phone, so I'll just jump in real quick. So we are going to be talking about negotiations here in a few minutes. Hopefully Jen's getting this last vendor all straightened out. We'll see what happens. But I want you to be prepared to talk about some of the creative negotiations you've seen lately with your transactions, whether you represent the buyer or the seller. So we're going to go over some of the things like that. We're going to go over some of the laws. We're going to go over some really crazy stuff that we've seen through negotiations. We're also going to dip into a little bit of negotiations if you've ever had to deal with an arbitration. Has anybody had to deal with an arbitration, sit through one, or mediation, either one? Typically the brokers do it, and a lot of times the agents are there. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, just so you have an idea of what happens in a mediation. Okay. So anybody got a joke? Brian's not on to give us the dad jokes going on. Nothing? Okay, so real quick then, I'm going to take up some time. NAR is going on right now all week. We've had a lot of classes, a lot of great things. You may have attended some of the NAR stuff. Has anybody attended any of the NAR sessions? Have you, Jesse? Great. There's some really good breakout sessions, some really good classes that I've been able to attend, some really dumb ones as well, because I'll tell you like it is. They came out with some artificial intelligence products that I thought are not even ready to be put into our industry yet. So they talked about that a little bit. I think they jumped the gun. What a waste of time that will be until they get artificial intelligence fixed. But a lot of good technology things. One of the most impressive things that a company in New England that has 35 offices, they talked about is doing technology such as your classes, such as your staff meetings, your accounting, your marketing, all over the internet with social media. And I was like, we've been doing that for a long time. So what's the news on this, right? And so they just were so proud of themselves. So what it helped me to know is what a fantastic job Presidio has already been doing. Jen, did you get it fixed?
No, she's going to try and hop on in the next couple weeks. So keep going.
You want me to take over?
Yep.
Okay. So, okay, anyway, I was saying a lot of the stuff that NAR classes were put on were really good, but I was just impressed with how we are already ahead of the game. We were doing Zoom classes before COVID even hit in March, and they were talking about how their class attendance has increased. Well, yeah, it's done that for everybody that has already had a plan in place. They put one in place around June, and I was thinking, how did this company get out? Why aren't we talking nationally about what a fantastic company Presidio is, because we are way ahead of these guys. So that's my own prejudice and talk about what a fantastic company Presidio is, and we are always trying to stay ahead of things. So kudos to Jen for already building this and doing this already, because I was underwhelmed by some of the national companies that were talking. So on the vendor, they have a virtual vendor thing. Instead of going to the booths and all that, at around noon, you go and you just basically look through the page and click on whoever you want to see what their product is. And I did not come across anything that was amazing. I will tell you that. So if you did attend NAR, today's the last day, last session. You didn't miss a whole lot. There was some good stuff, but none of it was CE. Nothing that we did today would have gotten you any credits. Today, John Legend was the guest speaker talking about fair housing. I guess he had a controversial tweet about fair housing, and he was on and talked about prejudices within the Black community. And his main topic was talking about how realtors shouldn't steer, and that's against our code of ethics anyway, right? So it was good and interesting from his point of view, but he also talked about the wealth gap. There's a huge wealth gap in our country. I thought it was interesting because he's probably wealthier than any of us on this call, talking about the wealth gap. And he admitted that too, that he doesn't really understand how to fix it, but he says we're a part of it as a realtors, to make sure that we're doing our part in not being prejudiced in any way towards our clients, towards steering, towards anything like that. So it was an interesting conversation he had with Vince Malta, the president. And so there was that. Any thoughts on that? Did anybody get to see anything that NAR did? No? Okay. All right. We'll go right into talking about negotiations. Okay, so as a real estate agent, your income is determined by your ability to close the deal. To successfully master the art of real estate negotiations, you'll want to find the most creative and powerful negotiation strategies. Finding clients is only the first step in the real estate process. The next important step is negotiating with the other side. All right, the art of negotiation includes two or more parties attempted to find a common middle ground that is beneficial to both sides. Real estate negotiations usually end up with one or more parties compromising or settling on mutually agreed points. A sales transaction can literally have hundreds of potential variables. To best serve the negotiation process, a purchase contract offer can be adapted in many different ways. Details such as the price, closing time range, seller credits, and the requested loan contingency time periods for numerous contractual checklist items, right? So loan qualifications, home inspection reports, appraisals, all that, they can be modified. Remember, the real estate sales process goes smoothest when each side of the negotiation table walks away feeling as if they have won something important to them. Okay, so let's talk real quick. Let's have you guys share some of the more creative things you've seen lately in negotiations with contracts coming in.
Steve, it's pretty difficult in these days to be negotiate with the other party because they know they have the cushion of selling market and they take the advantage out of it. We try to negotiate couple of my last deals, but they are so rigid, take it or leave it, you know, that kind of situation. I don't know what to do at that point, but we just take it.
So you're saying that the seller was so rigid that they didn't want to negotiate at all. They were like, here's our bottom line, here's what we want, and that's it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, interesting. Anybody else? Are you sending in offers representing buyers, being creative? Or are you just 10,000 above and it's not happening? Kayla?
So I see a lot of our contracts that are coming through that are getting accepted because of my position at the doing transactional work. And we're seeing a lot of earnest money, or not earnest money, well, earnest money go hard upon acceptance, $500. We're also seeing people put clauses in there to say after due diligence. But it's really interesting because there is a section to put that in, but they're putting it in the addendum. So there's a lot of different things that are happening, and they're removing financing contingencies. One of the other things I think is really important is negotiating your appraisal upon acceptance. So it's very apparent to everybody that what is going to go happen on this contract if we're $2,000 above the appraisal, as long as it's within the range. It's already negotiated, and we're seeing that those ones aren't canceling as often. And especially with having that earnest money go hard up front, it's so risky for the buyers to be doing that, but that's the only way they're winning.
So let's talk about that one. So you're saying that in an addendum, they're writing that the buyer will pay $2,000 above the appraised value if it doesn't come in at the contract price. Does everybody understand that?
Everybody should be very aware that there's specific verbiage that you have to be very careful how you say that, and then it has to say above agreed or below the agreed purchase price, because you don't want to do $2,000 above appraisal and not have the other part in there, because it changes what it's actually saying too.
Right. You don't want to actually be paying $2,000 more than it appraised if it appraised high, right? So if it doesn't come in at that price, that's where that comes in. Good. Anybody else?
I just actually submitted something that was on I put it on the Presidio page earlier this month. And I've had some good successes over the last few weeks in getting acceptance, and each buyer is different because you have to evaluate their situation, right? And they're the ones that they're the ones that are in control. And so you have to go over all of these options with them and see what they want to do. Otherwise, they could get in some deep trouble, just like was mentioned there, with appraisals, and then also making your earnest money go non-refundable after a certain time. But those are some of the strategies that we've been using, and I've made sure to discuss those things first with the agent before submitting an offer. And I've pointed out, hey, look, I can be the highest one. I'm sure, yeah, I can outbid you by $20,000 or $30,000, but what good is that? Let's be realistic when we're talking about an offer. So when you present this to your sellers, let me tell you where my people are coming from. One of the things that I've had my buyers doing lately is going to their lender and making sure that it's not just a pre-approval through the system, but that all of their documents are in and that it's ready for underwriting. And I've asked the lender to write a letter that states that specifically. This is more than just an automated approval. We have received all documents. We have evaluated the income on this customer and their credit scores. And this is ready for appraisal, contract, and submit for final approval to underwriting. So that's one thing that I've done that's been, and I've also talked up my lender to the sellers because I've worked with this lender on 70 plus deals or whatever it may be, right? So I think that that's crucial because they want to see what's the most important part for a seller. They want to see it through the finish line. So that's the number one thing I've done. I have also used the appraisal gap that we were just talking about there and saying, hey, look, we realize that we're in a competitive market. We're going to go above, but we're going to go above X amount unless if the appraisal comes in less. We've talked about earnest money going non-refundable after a certain amount of time or pieces of that. And I've put that in contracts where as of this date, X amount will go non-refundable. As of this date, another amount would go non-refundable. And there's certain things that have to be achieved in order to do that. I'm not using escalation clauses right now. I have in the past, but it's too competitive and it just doesn't make sense. I'm trying to structure the offer to the point where the seller, I'm spending more time talking with the seller's agent and trying to get them to give me feedback on what the seller wants than just throwing something out there to the air. So those are kind of the things that I've done. The one thing I will say, watch out on your letters. If you're writing letters, and I put it in my blog that was there to write a letter, it's an option. I don't like to write letters just because you can get in some serious trouble doing that. You have to be very precise on the language. In fact, I think that there's a Brian Swan, if you guys know who he is, he has a class that he does on writing letters the right way. I'd look for that as one of your CEs. But that's all I had to share.
Thank you, Brandon. That's awesome. So Brandon brought up some really good points that I want to just talk about real quick. So first you have to have a relationship with a lender, right? One that you know and trust. Don't be bouncing around all the time from lender to lender to lender. And you're going to have that conversation and educate your client, even though they have a brother-in-law that's a lender, right? That you have somebody on your team that you know will get the job done, okay? So having somebody on your team that you have proven track record with is huge, okay? If you're floating around, haven't picked your lender yet, or you're using whoever the buyer wants to use, you could be in trouble. You never know how it's gonna go. And I've seen more times than it go bad, especially because the buyer doesn't really know, right? His next door neighbor's a lender or something, right? He wants to use him. You just never know. So establish what Brandon's done, establish that relationship with your lender, make sure that you're doing more than just a pre-approval letter, getting them all qualified through underwriting. That's a big deal, okay? All right, next thing I did want to talk about are these letters. Jen has an opinion on writing these letters. I have an opinion on writing these letters. Jen, let's hear your opinion.
Well, one of my agents, I have a really strong, like, you have to be so careful, obviously, because of the protected classes. And one of the agents called me this week and said, okay, I think I've got this letter down pat that is safe. And she let me read it. And one of the first things it says is, my husband and I really love the home. Well, unfortunately, marital status is a protected class. And so even just mentioning that you're married can be something that can be misconstrued, right? Or married to a man or married to a woman. And so it's extremely dangerous to have anything like that. And then the next line said something like, my kids love your backyard. Again, a familial status, that is a protected class. So it's so dangerous to write these letters, just like Brandon said, that you just almost want to avoid them. Don't do letters. I most often don't even accept letters on any of my listings. I just put them aside and let my sellers look at the facts of their offer, and that is it.
So Jen brings up a really good point. Is a letter something that has to go through to the seller, such as the REPC has to go through? All offers have to go through and be presented to the seller. Where in the status is a letter? Anybody have a thought? You don't want to give a wrong answer. It's the only way to learn. So, Holly, you're a broker. What's your opinion? You got to unmute.
Hi. You know what? I'm a heart person. So like, I like letters, but as far as offers go, I would probably agree with Jen on that one. Sticky.
Yeah, it is sticky. A letter technically is not part of the contract. Okay. So it does not have to be presented. And absolutely, if there's a picture, you definitely don't want to present anything that has a picture of the family or anything like that, like Jen said. Jen and I actually have the exact same opinion on this. I do not like letters. Back in the day when they first came out, there were so many people presenting letters. There's so many fair housing issues in these letters, and nobody was doing anything about it. Well, guess what? Somebody did something about it. Somebody did not get that house. They filed an ethics complaint, and it went all the way through. And so that's obviously when we start learning and saying, okay, we can't do that. We have to be more careful of what we're doing with letters. Okay.
I saw on Realtor.com has articles out right now on multiple offers and what you should do to win the multiple offer. And Realtor.com tells you to write a letter. And it's really dangerous because, you know, any one of us can be Googling, how do we win multiple offers right now? Because we're all in multiple offers. And that's the advice that we're getting, and we're believing that that is the right thing to do. And so I would just, again, implore you to really reconsider. Tell your clients, and if your clients say, we want to send this letter over, we want to send this letter over, just let them know there's a good chance we could get sued.
There's a really good chance. In fact, there are people out there that do things so that they can sue. Okay, they do things purposely so that you'll mess up and can sue. Okay. Okay. Any other? Let's talk about other offers you've got in. That's creative.
Add one extra thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to write the letter because like I said, I don't really like the letters. But when you're talking with the agent, you're giving them information about you don't want to give too much, right? You still have to stay along those same lines, but sell the agent on your clients, because the agent's going to come back and talk to their sellers about your clients. One other thing that I've been using a lot is asking how long do the sellers need to move out of the property, right? Everyone's trying to get it done right now. Hey, I need tight deadlines. Great, we're trying to get it as tight as we can. So we'll have this closed in 3 weeks. Well, the seller may not want to move for 6. So that's one thing that I've been using is, you know, hey, negotiable time frame for moving in, whether we need a short-term leaseback agreement or if it's 48 hours or whatever. So that's another item I've used.
Yeah, so Brandon brings up a great point. The number one problem in our industry, and it's a nationwide problem, is still communication. Okay, Brandon's doing an excellent job of communicating with the seller's agent. That's hopefully you're able to get a hold of the seller's agent, right? Some go dark because they got 14 offers coming in, and that's just still not a good way to do business. You need to prepare yourself to know where we're at in this economy, and that, you're just going to get inundated with offers and questions, and you need to handle them all like a professional. Okay, call people back, answer your phone, all that kind of stuff, right? It's all part of raising the bar. It's all what we should be doing basically anyway. So if you can communicate with the seller and find out what their needs and wants are, Brandon's right, it goes so much farther in getting it done. And plus, it's a good idea to try to get involved in our industry with your local boards, with committees and things like that, because if I'm going to have a transaction come up and it's going to be with Matt Ulrich, okay, of Ulrich Realtors. Matt's one of my best friends, and so I know we're going to make it work out well if it's best for both of our clients, right? So it's good to know the other agent on the other side. So what happens then if you go, oh man, the listing agent is horrible last time, right? What are your immediate thoughts? Anybody? Because you all know it happens. Minette?
You don't want to deal with them,
Sure.
and you might cut off the deal. But as my broker, Karine Porter says, communicate with the other agent as much as you can.
Shower them with kindness.
Okay. Anybody else? So I believe in second chances. Kayla, go ahead.
So what I was going to say is it really has to do with our egos, and whether or not we can set our ego aside just because at one point or another somebody had a poor experience. You can move past that and try your best, and you can just stay silent in places where you feel like maybe you didn't appreciate the comment or things that they may have said to you, and just be the bigger person.
Okay, I agree. So like I was saying, I do believe in second chances, and it's a different client, it's a different situation, probably a different house maybe. And so you have to still do what's in the best interest of your client. You do, like Kayla said, have to put your ego aside, put your hurt feelings aside, and you have to educate your client though. I would absolutely say, okay, here's the situation that happened last time with this agent. I'm going to try to do everything better this time so that it's a smooth transaction for you. But no, it was a rough ride last time I did this. And they might want to know why or something, right? You have to be careful on what you can share and what you can't share, okay? Because you can't share a lot of your past clients' personal information, okay? One of the things that Brandon had touched on communicating with the other agent that I was always good at was getting all the information I could out of the other agent. And as soon as you just start having a conversation with them, they start spilling their guts a lot of times, okay? And a lot of times they tell you probably more than they should tell you, but that's not your fault and that's not your issue, okay? As the listing agent, you have to have permission to be able to say certain things about the house, the situation, the client, all that kind of stuff. And so make sure that you have a talk with your sellers and say, okay, what do you want to be able to disclose to a buyer and stuff like that, right? Now, it's a sticky situation if you had an offer fall through and you know of certain repair items that need to be done. And if the seller's like, well, don't tell them about this, okay? So what do? Do you tell them? Do you don't tell them certain things, right?
We
Yes.
tell them anything for repair.
If they ask.
If they ask, yes.
Right. So you still provide them the seller property condition disclosures, but if they ask you a question, has this ever been mediated for meth? Yes, it has, right? Even if the seller says, don't tell them anything about it, you are obligated by law to disclose if they ask. Now, you don't have to market it and you don't have to tell them once it's been mediated and cleaned up, but if they ask, you do have to tell them, okay? There's no negotiating on that, right? All right. I wanted to talk about a couple creative things that have come past us here in our office and our exec team at the Salt Lake Board. We've had to rethink and put our thinking caps on and say, can an agent offer another agent a gift as they've sent as the buyer sent the offer to the seller? You know, like a year's supply of Coca-Cola, stuff like that. We have seen the craziest stuff. And sure, you can give me a gift all you want. That's not a problem at all. I mean, we've gone back through the law books and everything Curtis did, and he was digging, and sometimes we have to call the division. And can a buyer then offer a seller a year's season pass to Disneyland with our offer? Can they do that? What do you think?
Are you talking before or after a sale?
With part of the offer. What do you think?
No, not as a
Okay.
part of the deal.
Okay. All right. Anybody else want to share your thought?
I had buyers leave a box of crumble cookies right when they walk through the home. So I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah. Okay. So we did a lot of digging, and our first thought was, no, you can't do that. Why would that be allowed? We found nothing in the law books that said you couldn't do it. So we all came to a conclusion, and then I suppose it would have to come down to your principal broker going, what do you think, and should this be a company policy? But yeah, absolutely. The buyer can offer the seller an inducement. Absolutely. It doesn't matter what it is. So if you think of a year's supply of Coke, it's only a couple $1,000, right? They're just trying to be creative in their offer, but absolutely it's allowed.
But isn't anything has to be go through the real estate contract?
So I said specifically the buyer offering it to the seller, okay? I didn't say the buyer's agent offering it to the seller. Okay, that's not allowed.
You got me.
Yeah, it's the buyer to the seller, okay?
Okay.
But yeah, they could do that, right? We've seen that creative stuff. It's like, wow, I never thought I would see something like that part of the transaction. And so yeah, now does the lender like it? You gotta run everything by the lender that you do as an inducement, as a gift. But yeah, and Kelsey, yeah, I've heard that box of crumble cookie thing being left before, and yeah, it's allowed. So crazy. Jen,
sorry.
Oh, sorry, Veronica.
Would this have to be documented on the REPC or an addendum that the gift has been offered as far as the offer?
It's typically something outside of the contract. It's not part of the contract. It has nothing to do with buying the house.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Oh, Steve, I do have a question on, this is Carmina. In that question before this last one, can an agent offer gifts to the other agent? I missed the answer for that. Did we say no?
No, yes, they can. An agent can offer another agent gifts. Absolutely.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that you got to take their offer, right? But gee, thanks for the gift.
And what would that look like? I mean, would that be, of course, outside of the contract, but just on a, I guess, as a personal.
Right. The personal
thing,
thank
right?
you, a personal gift. Yep. As long as it's not tied into the commission.
Yes.
Yeah. These are weird times.
Steve, this is Chelsea. I have a question also regarding being the listing agent. When the buyers, you've got 8 offers, the buyer's agents are asking, how many offers do you have on the table? And are you representing any of the offers? Do we have to disclose that?
What do you think, Jen? Yeah, you do.
You don't have to disclose how many offers you have. You do have to disclose if you're representing another client.
Yep. Exactly.
One other quick thing that I have started receiving on the offer side, and I've added it to a few of our offers lately, is that I'm pulling it up. Just a side note, buyer commits to order, lender commits to order the appraisal the day this is accepted, and also buyer commits to ask for no repairs on the home. Will take the property in as is condition. So some little cues that have been helping us in the multiple offer situation up here in Cache Valley.
Nice.
Do lenders have issues with the as-is condition? Do lenders tend to have issues with that, or is it not?
I haven't seen it yet, and we did close on one with that wording last week, but I mean, every lender's a little different.
I think the differentiation, Darcy, would be as if it was an FHA, and in the FHA addendum, they have anything regarding repairs. Even if it's at a 0, they are going to send an FHA appraiser over there. And if he finds things that need to be repaired, then that whole thing is off. Essentially, it has to be done for the lender to lend on.
So could we word it that the buyer, if it's an FHA or VA, that the buyer would be responsible for the repairs that are required?
Yeah.
Yes. And it would have to be, they would have to have those repairs done before closing. I've seen that, and it's like, I've seen repairs happen and then the deal fall apart. Apply for FHA, they had to go to conventional. Well, the seller doesn't have to accept that conventional addendum, and the buyer can go away and thanks for doing the repairs. So it's a risky thing.
The other thing, and my internet went out when Brandon was talking, doing a part of the earnest money as non-refundable after the due diligence period. So basically you're paying the seller to accept your offer $1,000 no matter what. And then, you know, obviously with financing and appraisal deadline, but no matter what, they're receiving $1,000 after the due diligence deadline. And that also was put into an offer that was accepted over 12 offers on Monday.
Wow.
I don't know if that's legit, just saying that.
It's happening a lot right now. Sellers get away with just about anything in this market because buyers, I mean, one of our agents had a listing last week, 36 showings in one day. One day, 36 showings. She got about 20 offers. Every single one of them had escalation clauses. So just like Brandon said, is that even beneficial anymore? No, we've got to get creative, right? Escalation clauses clearly nobody cares. Because you know what, every agent's thinking, well, let's bid it as highly possibly can, and then the appraisal will bring it back down. Well, the listing agents are getting smart enough to know that's not going to fly. We're not going that route. So again, then we go to appraisal or hard earnest money. So right now, people are willing to say, I'm willing to lose $1,000 to be the offer that gets accepted out of 20 other offers. I'm willing to do it.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
One of the other things, as long as you're being aware that most of the time as a buyer, you don't make a payment for the first month-ish, you can give them 7 days of free, like a week of possession for free, and it doesn't really cost the buyer anything. And that's one other thing I do feel like is beneficial and you should use if you're trying to compete.
I've actually seen the buyer offer to pay the seller's mortgage until it closes as well.
I've seen that too. I've seen a month's worth of toilet paper in this 2020 market. I've seen it all.
I didn't get that that part, Kayla. Would you repeat that? What you just said?
Oh, sure. Yes. So when you go down to possession, you can put a specific amount of days. You just have to be aware of what the requirements are on moving. And like, you can't give them 6 months in the property without your lender probably freaking out and not being able to put that through. So you just have to make sure that you're within those same requirements. But most times you don't have a mortgage payment for the first month. And so if you give 7 days of possession after closing, a lot of times that can help a seller, especially in transition, to be able to close a property and also move, because a lot of times if we're in these domino effects, if those extra couple days makes a huge difference.
That makes sense. Okay, now one more thing while I have you there. This is Carmina, Kayla. You mentioned on the okay, hang on. It was a lot earlier in the meeting. Oh yes, the appraisal. And when you write an offer, you're talking about how the wording needs to be correct, the specific, as far as, well, I'm offering $2,000 over appraisal. And then you talked about something else, below the offer price or something like that, or up to the amount of the offer. Is that what you said?
So you just have to be careful not to word it so that you say, if in the event the appraisal comes in low, buyer agrees to pay $2,000 above whatever asking price of the appraisal or whatever it is. But you just have to be careful that you have to say that if it's below what the agreed upon amount is, that's the part that needs to make sure that that's in there.
The best language for what Kayla's trying to say is buyer to pay $2,000 or whatever it is above appraised value. Well, this is usually how I say it. In the event the appraised value does not come in at agreed purchase price, buyer to pay $2,000 above appraised value up to agreed purchase price. That's the perfect language for that, because what if it comes in $1,000 low, you just agreed to pay $1,000 over what you already offered. So make sure what Kayla's trying to say is that you have the cap and that you also have, in the event that this happens, we're not just going to pay $2,000 over appraised value, okay? In the event that it comes in below agreed purchase price, buyer to pay $2,000 up to agreed purchase price.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right. Any other thoughts before I move on? Okay. Yes, Robert.
This is Robert. Hi, Steve, Jennifer. I heard an agent use the term recently, rebates to the seller. And I hadn't heard that term before, but say I'm taking a listing and I offer the seller $1,000 rebate upon closing. Is that legal?
So rebates are, they're a little tricky. The division doesn't like the word rebate, but they allow it to happen. A rebate has to happen in one of two ways. And we like inducement better than rebate. But typically a buyer's agent offers a rebate to their client, okay? So the way the division likes it and the way I like it to keep it clean is if the buyer is going to be giving up something from their commission anyway, that they do it in the form of closing costs, and it is approved through underwriting, okay? And it's on the HUD statement or the closing documents, okay? That's the right way to do it. That keeps it clean. Now, the other way that it can be done, and again, this has to be approved through underwriting on the buyer side, is after the closing happens, you as an agent want to provide a closing gift. You can do that in the form of a rebate, right? Let's say you're going to give them $1,000, okay? Here's the legal part. The company, as in Presidio, we do not cut them a check, okay? Because what that does is goes around the IRS tax laws. What has to happen is we provide you your commission check, and then what you do with your commission check is up to you. Okay, you'll have to pay taxes on that, right? Because you'll receive a 1099. That way you don't skirt the IRS laws. So the Department of Justice really cracked down on those rebates because companies were just cutting it directly to the buyer. You weren't having to pay taxes on it. And, you know, so that's how that came about, okay? So the best way to do it is, if you're going to do it, is by keeping it part of the transaction and it being fully disclosed. That makes sense? Now, I just skirted around your question, actually, Robert, that said the seller gets $1,000 back or something like that, right? I honestly have never seen the seller getting a rebate. I know you've discounted, the seller's agent has discounted, the listing agent has discounted their commission, but I mean, they're already getting that discount. So I've never really seen something where they would get a rebate. Have you, Jen? where the seller gets a rebate?
I mean, in this crazy market right now, agents are putting offers on, with their clients that they've shown several homes to and several offers, and they're getting so desperate. The agents are willing to pitch in 0.5% of their commission. So they put together a brokerage escrow commission agreement that says buyer's agent to take 2.5% if you're offering 3%. And whose offer stands out, you guys? That agent's. So which agent out of all 30 agents that wrote an offer gets paid? That agent.
Okay, so the proper form that Jen said is the broker escrow commission agreement form, right? So that then is the buyer's agent willing to reduce the commission then. Makes sense? Still don't like it. Don't like us having to reduce our commissions. We're worth every penny, okay? Great question though, Robert. Any other questions? You guys, any thoughts? Now's a good time. Okay, I'm going to switch gears on you, okay? Because a lot of you have not been through a mediation or an arbitration. Anybody get on that has been through one? Not brokers. Even our brokers. Have you guys, Holly, have you ever done one? No? Chelsea, where you at? Where'd you go? Oh, you're black. Have you ever done a mediation? No, you haven't.
I personally haven't. An agent has been going through one.
Oh. So when one of your agents goes through one, a lot of times you will be there and your principal broker will be there, okay? So let me give you some tips on negotiations through a mediation, okay? All right, so some of the most important key strategies in conducting these real estate negotiations are have a positive attitude, okay? Smile, be positive. Make the other side feel welcome and appreciated. At the true core, we all just want it to be liked or loved, right? Being likable, and the other side will want to make you happy, okay? Don't come in glaring. Don't come in with a chip on your shoulder. Coach your clients that way too. Be likable, okay? Find common ground. Create a list of items that both sides can agree on towards the start of the meeting, okay? Then focus on resolving the other issues that need to be worked out with some form of compromise. If the other side doesn't agree with the options you've presented, provide them with alternative options backed with solid evidence. Do not become emotionally attached to the deal, okay? This goes in all real estate transactions. Even if you desperately need the commission for this one real estate deal, please don't act out of reactive fear. Ironically, the fear of losing the deal can be sensed by the others in the room and in turn can push them away. Deal with the facts of the real estate transaction as opposed to the emotions. Show your good sense of humor when appropriate. Once another person smiles or laughs, they will become more open-minded and receptive. End negotiations on a good note. Before walking out of the room, make sure everyone feels positive about the outcome of the real estate negotiations that have just taken place. You used to be able to shake hands, okay? It's shake hands, thank each side for their participation, and talk about the next positive steps in the process, okay? It is better in these situations, okay, to do a lot of negotiations in person instead of online or by phone, okay? We react more to other people's voice tones and body language, both consciously and subconsciously, than to their spoken words. When using emails or text to negotiate, tones and intentions are not easily understood. Someone may be offended by a typed comment which was truly benign, neutral, or even meant to be funny, okay? Also, check your body language. Don't sit in the conference room with your arms and legs crossed. This conveys to the other people that you may be closed-minded, angry, which is another side of fear, reactive, or hard to please. A better option is to have open posture and a smile on your face. Try to look the other people in the eye as much as possible to help you seem more honest and trustworthy. All right, any questions on that? You're going to be scared to death, honestly, when you go into a mediation and negotiation. But you'll have talked with your broker and with Jen, our principal broker, who we have the experience to at least explain to you and your client what's about to happen, what can happen, and then the mediator will make the decisions, okay? So let me ask you then, if a mediator makes a decision, is it a decision you have to accept? Your client has to accept? No, it's not. They're just trying to find the middle ground and help all situations get resolved, okay? So where does a mediation typically take place? And how do you get a mediator? That is through your local board association, okay? You can also get it through UAR, right? They have a list of mediators and you can choose which mediator you want. That is actually where negotiations start because both sides have to agree on the mediator, okay? So make sure you get a list of the mediators and that you know their history and background. A little bio can come with if you ask for it. So you get this through your board association, okay? Now, can attorneys be present at a mediation? Yeah, absolutely. You can they can involve their attorney at any time. Are they necessary? No, they're not. In fact, that's why we do mediation it's the step before attorneys usually get involved. However, the client usually has called their attorney already and they've advised them on one way or another on the situation. Hopefully the attorney is a real estate attorney, okay? Because a divorce attorney doesn't have a clue about real estate law. Believe me, I've seen that happen before, okay? So a good real estate attorney is key to helping a client if that's the case. Yes, Sherry. Unmute.
How do we find a good real estate attorney? I actually need one right now.
So Jen has somebody, she'll tell you.
Okay.
Yes, so I've seen it even on social media, just post the question up there, hey, I need a good real estate attorney, and a half a dozen will just show up, you know, because there's a lot of good ones out there. Unfortunately, and very sadly, ours passed away from COVID, but Jennifer has other resources. And there you go. There's Brady Gibbs's number in the chat box, so take that down. Before consulting or having your agents consult a real estate attorney, because you might get a free consultation, but then it's going to start billing, talk to your broker, talk to Jen, talk to myself, and let's see what we can do first before attorneys get involved and those costs start happening, okay? All right, that's all my class is. I really appreciate all your feedback and everything. What a crazy economy we have. This is not gonna go away, okay? It's not. As you know, townhomes, condos are acting as first homes now for buyers, okay? So dealing with the housing shortage is just something that we have to do. Usually the real estate market cycles every 10 years. I think it's been almost 13 years now, and we haven't had a cycle. So since the collapse back in 08, right? So we're gonna see what happens after this presidential election at the first of the year, see what happens with the Fed rates, but they can only raise them so much anyway. So we're gonna have a good start of the first quarter next year. Be positive, and just continue to talk as a family, jump on our Facebook page, stuff like this, get other people's opinions. I mean, only 32 of us are here on this call. We have almost 300 agents now in our company. So there's some great ones out there, and we're here to serve you. We appreciate you guys so much. Any last minute thoughts or questions for Jen or I while you're here?
I have one, Steve. I actually have a seller that's selling a home that he's renting it out, so he's got a lease on it till July. I talked to him because on the last class, one of the agents said, well, just tell him he can buy out the lease and sell it immediately. So I approached the property management company with that, and she said, oh no, he doesn't have to pay that. Isn't that setting him up for a lawsuit? He's in contract with the leasing.
So we'd have to look at all the contracts, all the lease contracts involved before we can make an opinion on it. But you have to be very careful with lease options and things like that. We definitely want to help you out with those. Okay.
Okay.
They're tricky, especially if certain title companies have created them. Brian is really good about dealing with these, and we definitely want to be involved to help you if the situation. But we have to look at all the documents before we can give an opinion.
Okay, I'll get the contract and call Brian then. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right, there you go, Jen.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate all you stepping in today, especially last minute. This is such great information right now in the middle of a market like this where it is just crazy to try and get your buyers under contract. So everybody, good luck. We appreciate you being on today. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us, but have a great week and a fantastic Thanksgiving. And we just want you to know that we are all so grateful that you choose Presidio. And we hope that we can always support you in everything that you do. Have a great week, you guys.